After Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump gave major speeches attacking each other this week, the media were filled with fact-checking pieces and analyses, mostly about Trump. Some of these questions came up in an interview with NBC's Lester Holt.
There's no evidence that she was asleep.
It happened all during the day, and it was going on for a long period of time.
But I guess what I'm asking, what do you base it on?
It was going on for a long period of time, and she was asleep at the wheel. Whether she was sleeping or not, who knows if she was sleeping.
But is there any evidence that it was hacked other than routine phishing attacks?
I read that and I heard it, and somebody that also gave me that information. I will report back to you. I'll give it to you.
Back with the panel, just to clarify, the first question was about Trump saying that Hillary Clinton had been asleep during the Benghazi attack when 4 Americans were killed. The second one, of course, was about whether there had been Russian hacking or other hacking of her email server. So, Mara, what do you think of those exchanges, and do you believe that Trump gets fact-checked more aggressively than does Hillary Clinton?
There's no doubt Trump gets fact-checked more aggressively. This is a real challenge for the media. I mean, he says a lot of things that aren't backed up by evidence, and the fact-checking departments are actually overwhelmed, and she tends to deliver her attacks by repeating outrageous things that he has said. Those are easy. You don't have to fact-check those. Those are just things that he says. But yes, he's under more scrutiny. That's a pretty classic example. He said her email server was hacked. Pretty simple question, what's your evidence? He didn't have it.
He said, I'll come back to you.
He'll come back to you.
All right, so now some outlets like the Washington Post fact-checked both. The New York Times fact-checked Trump's speech and did not do anything on Hillary that we could find. CNN did a sizable on-air fact-check about Trump, few sentences with one challenge on Hillary. So are you finding this unbalanced?
Absolutely. I mean, the organizations that are doing the fact checks are only as impartial as the individuals who are doing the fact checking themselves. And if you look at studies by George Mason University, they found during President Obama's second term, despite controversies like Benghazi and the IRS, that organizations like PolitiFact were 3 times more likely to find Republican statements and claims false than they were for Democrats. And I know as someone who's worked on Republican campaigns, you get to a point where you just stop responding to PolitiFact, because even though the information you're giving them is true, the best you're going to get is a half true. And then you look at your Democratic counterpart, and they're rating everything true. They not very often are they rated anything false, or it's certainly you certainly see a lot of bias with those organizations.
Well, it's fair to attack the fact-checkers, but when you have no fact-check on a major Hillary Clinton speech, then that's harder for me to defend.
No, there should be fact-check. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody should be fact-checked. I think this thing that I guess CNN first started to do about the real-time fact-checking along the bottom of the screen when Trump spoke,
yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
I do too.
I think they should do it for everybody. I think they should do that for everybody. But let me just say,
please.
I mean, Trump deserves a tougher fact-check because he just says stuff that pops into his head. He does. He just and in this speech, when he said, for example, that Hillary Clinton, all the turmoil in the Middle East is directly her responsibility, is that kind of sentence that just makes people go, what are you saying?
We have someone like Hillary Clinton, never in history has a major party nominee been facing a federal criminal investigation by the FBI. We have someone like Hillary Clinton.
Don't go there. Go to fact-checking.
I am. I'm talking about fact. I'm going to get to that, because you have given the amount of lies that she has told in relation to the private email server, the private email.
It hasn't been extensively covered by the press?
Not to the extent of Donald Trump's comments.
Bring it up.
But let's talk about substantive things. Granted, Donald Trump says silly things that deserve fact-checking, but we're talking about real credible issues that have to deal with national security. And, those things get priority.
But here's where Republicans that I've talked to are incredibly frustrated. There is a case to be made against Hillary Clinton. She has said things about her server like, oh, I asked, it was okay, or other people did it, that have now turned out, because of the IG report, to be contradicted. He didn't put that in his speech. He just goes for the wild conspiracy theories. Yes. He doesn't lay out the argument that is there to be made.
You're not saying it's all wild conspiracy theories.
No, not all of it.
All politicians engage in exaggeration and embellishment. So in Hillary's speech, she gave Trump's old position on minimum wage, and then she gave her new position on tougher stance toward trade deals. So sometimes it's by omission. Before we go, Bernie Sanders is still running for the Democratic nomination. Last time I checked, this came up on MSNBC. Take a look.
Senator, if you've accepted the arithmetic of the race and you realize that she's likely to become the nominee, why not withdraw from the race?
Why would I want to do that when I want to fight to make sure that we have the best platform that we possibly can?
Should the press stop covering Bernie Sanders so heavily now that he says Hillary will win the nomination, but he's not quitting?
I think they have stopped covering him so heavily.
You think it's a fait accompli?
The voting ended, and because it's done. But I don't think they should stop covering him totally.
I wasn't saying that.
obviously he's going to want to do his thing up to the convention. So, you know, it's news. He's news. He got 12 million votes.
Just briefly, I don't think he wants to give up the spotlight. I mean, this is not a senator who got a lot of media attention before he ran for president.
No, I mean, he's loving this. I mean, the amount of money that he's been able to raise. I mean, this is someone who's been a backbencher in Congress for decades now, and now he has a platform. And he has a platform at the Democratic Committee, because we know he has 5 people to Hillary Clinton's 6 on the party platform committee.
Philadelphia is going to be as interesting as Cleveland, mark my words. All right, Mara Elias and Lisa Booth, Michael Tomasky, thanks very much for stopping by this